While exploring southwest of Arafu, we stumble upon the ruins of Virginia Power Line's 58 power station. From here, if we turn north, we can follow the big electrical towers until we reach an unmarked location. We see some sort of ramshackle fence built around the base of one of these electrical pylons. Inside are two wastelanders that are immediately hostile. Once dead, we can go around to enter this little shack area. We find a table to the south with some whiskey on top, and then in the eastern corner, we see a mini nuke resting on a concrete support. Next to this is an ammo box, and then going around the perimeter, we find a pre-war book, which we can give to Scribe Yearling for some caps, another ammunition box, a first aid kit, and a holotape. Keller family transcript 1 of 5.
Tina, it's me, your brother, Alex. Listen, Mom would kill me if she knew I was contacting you, but she's being an impossible bitch right now. You have to come home. Do you understand me? This thing with China, it's not going away. We're gonna try and get into one of those vaults. If that doesn't work, well, I have a backup plan. There's this secure bunker, another sort of vault, inside the National Guard depot, and... Look, no matter what it takes, the whole damn Keller family's gonna ride this storm out, but you've got to get your ass home. Now.
So Alex sent a message to his sister Tina, urging her to come back home. He, like many, was able to predict the looming end of the world and was taking steps to erect some sort of shelter for he and his family. But was he successful? Did Tina ever get this message? Well, it says that this is holotape 1 of 5. I wonder if that means we can find the other 4 messages. Well, we find an answer to this question when we head to the Hallowed Moors Cemetery, which is north of Big Town and northwest of the Meresti metro station. As we approach, we have to fight a few super mutants and centaurs. When the graveyard is in sight, we see that it rests within the bounds of a church. We also see the telltale sign of super mutants, blood bags hanging from big iron spikes in the ground. Since the super mutants are likely near the entrance, we're gonna sneak around behind the ruins of the church. The northeastern corner of this church is completely collapsed, allowing us to crawl in easily. Once inside, sure enough, we see super mutants patrolling out the front door. Well, that pretty much took care of him. Turning around, we see a kidnapped wasteland captive. The super mutants have bound the captive for transportation. The ropes are digging into his wrists. He's obviously suffering from their abuse. We can either leave him here to his fate or untie him. Nothing happens if we leave him here, but if we untie him...
I'm alive! I can't believe it, I'm alive! Here, I managed to hide this stuff before they tied me up. You take it. It's the best I can do to thank you.
We can take it, it's just a small reward of food and caps, or we can refuse, and instead get a healthy dose of karma.
Okay, if you say so. I can't thank you enough, stranger.
With him gone, we can now explore. We find a bookshelf to the northwest. On the bottom, we find a first aid box and a copy of DC Journal of Internal Medicine, which permanently improves our medicine skill by 3. The super mutants must have had a feast here. There are human body parts and blood smeared all over the place. I can only imagine what it smells like. Walking to the southwest corner of the church, we find an ammunition box next to a podium. Behind the podium, we find a big book of science, which permanently increases our science skill, and a smaller than usual metal box, which sadly only has some minor scrap. But lying on the podium is the Keller family transcript holotape number 2.
Paul, it's me, Tina. I heard back from my sister Candace. We couldn't get into a vault. 101, 87, didn't matter. All full to capacity. But my brother Alex is a soldier and he sort of stole the passcode for a secure army bunker. He did it for the family, but they caught him. Before they took him into custody, Alex, he sent us each one number of the 4-digit code. That way we all have to be together to get in. He gave me number 5, the day of my birth. So, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm still leaving. It's been fun. Kind of. Oh, and I'm not pregnant, so no worries.
So Tina did get the message her brother Alex sent her. She must have been staying with her lover named Paul, but upon getting Alex's message, she chose to leave to go back home to stay with her family. But it sounds like Alex got apprehended by the military. Since he couldn't get them into a Vault-Tec vault, he stole the passcode to a secret military bunker. Did Alex ever get inside the bunker? Or was he rotting in jail when the bombs dropped? And what about the rest of his family? Here we learn that Tina has another sister. So that's 3 siblings already, Alex, Tina, and one other sister. If there's a mother and father, then, well, that's a total of 5. This was holotape 2 of 5. I presume we must be able to find the rest. To do so, we need to head to the Greener Pastures disposal site. Here we walk due east until we find a road that goes under a wrecked overpass. There are plenty of ruined cars lining this road, and at the end of the road, just north of the Temple of the Union, we find the Grisly Diner. This used to be called a Dots Diner before the war. I wonder why it's called Grisly Diner today. As we head up to explore, we see a proximity mine on the ground. Heading through the door, we immediately understand why it's called the Grisly Diner. Raiders have been here. We see dismembered corpses everywhere, lying on the ground, chopped to pieces. Skulls and organs sitting on top of the bar. The raiders have left graffiti on the ground, and we see traps hanging from the ceiling behind the counter. Going around to enter, we see a raider corpse hanging from the ceiling and a dead, dismembered settler lying on a mattress next to an empty suitcase. Heading behind the counter, we find 2 cash registers to loot, one of which is a tiny cash register, and then we hear sounds of battle. Sharon has somehow gotten himself into trouble, heading out and rounding the corner to see what he got into. What? Who are you fighting, Sharon?
Where?
Well, I'm not exactly sure what went on there. Seems like I kept missing these raiders. But in the commotion, they triggered the trap behind the counter, so now I don't have to worry about it. Or maybe I do. Anyway, behind the counter, we find a first aid kit against the wall, and on the ground by a big shelf filled with scrap is a copy of Tales of a Junktown Jerky Vendor, which permanently improves our barter skill. At the top of the shelving unit, we find some mentats. Heading out the back door, we see a little raider home. You have a bunk bed set out here, and in the northwest corner, some shelving and containers. Here we find 4 different ammo boxes, 1 on each level of the shelf, a missile launcher, and a Chinese assault rifle. Heading around a concrete barrier and going to the northern corner of this little room, we find an old office desk with 2 bottles of whiskey and the Keller family transcript holotape 3 of 5.
Mom, it's Candace. Oh my God, it's really happening. I can see the cloud. It's so big. Mom, I'm so scared. I'm heading to the vault now. I'll do whatever I can to get inside. My number of the passcode was 7, right?
Oh God, it was Candace, the 3rd sibling. She sent this to her mom, but she didn't name her mom. Well, that means we've got 2 holotapes left to go, presumably the mother and father's. We need to be careful when we leave the Grisly Diner, as fragmentation mines litter the hillside. And if we head northwest along the road, we likely run right into a talent company encounter. Just east along the road, we find a big blasted out bus, and on the ground, a copy of U.S. Army 30 handy flamethrower recipes, which permanently increases our big guns skill. To find the next holotape, we need to travel to Arafu and then head northwest. Along the way, we stumble upon an unmarked location. This looks like a little shantytown, and it's guarded by hostile wastelanders. After they're dead, we can explore the town, where we find many tiny abandoned shacks. In one to the southwest, we find 2 ammo containers by the door and a skeleton in a bathtub with a toaster. This is a common and recurring theme in all of the Fallout games. This was the way the mayor of Boston killed himself in Fallout 4. This is how we found his body in the Boston mayoral shelter. It appears to be a popular way of suicide. There are a few more containers to loot and some shotgun shells on a table next to a combat shotgun. Heading out, we can turn southeast to explore this abandoned shack, and inside we find a morbid scene. Half a dozen or more skeletons with bright red blood splatter all over the floor. These are clear signs of some sort of battle or massacre. These people had overturned some tables to use as a barricade, and we find another combat shotgun on the ground. There are 3 more ammo containers to the west, as well as a copy of Duck and Cover next to a mini nuke. We even see big bloody handprints on the tables and splatter on all of the walls. Perhaps this is evidence that the wastelanders who fired upon us as we got close invaded and sacked this peaceful town, killing all of the previous residents and piling their corpses in this shack. I suppose we'll never really know what happened here. We find the next abandoned shack to the north, but this isn't abandoned. To the northwest, we find a table, and on it a stealth boy with a copy of Tales of a Junktown Jerky Vendor. We find a couple of beds that we can use to rest on up, and then heading through the door, we just find a kitchen. A lot of dishes and scrap. That's about it. Back outside, if we head west, we find 2 more ammunition boxes underneath a table inside a ruined shack, and in the shack just south of here, another ammunition box next to a skeleton. I think that this little shantytown may have existed before the war, a shantytown belonging to workers of a nearby mine. Because if we head northwest of this location, we stumble upon Rock Breaker's last gas. Nearby, we see another abandoned shack perched on top of a large rocky outcropping. Exploring the gas station, we find some Radaway and Nuka-Cola and blood splatter on the ground right next to 2 Nuka-Cola machines. Inside the machines, we can walk away with a Nuka-Cola Quantum and some caps. The road from this gas station appears to go down, but I want to see what this shack is on top of the rocky outcrop. We can scale the hillside by heading behind the rock, whereupon we find a few super mutants.
Help me.
After they're dead, we can walk up to the shack. We find ourselves on a great little sniper's point, and we immediately see that it was a good idea we didn't follow the road down. The road leads down to a pool, what must have been a former quarry. And surrounding this pool are a slew of enemies. Super mutants, super mutant masters, centaurs, robots, and even Talon Company. We can use this opportunity to clear the area of enemies that may make our lives more difficult on our way down the hill. Once the area is clear, we can turn around and explore the abandoned shack. Inside, we find thick layers of blood all over the ground. And in a cage to the right, 2 rad roaches. These rad roaches were unique and they had names, Fluffy and Jitters. Inside the cage, we see a big hunk of meat or gore, and then a bloody blade and a bone saw on a tray on top of the cage. I get the impression that a wastelander may have been keeping these rad roaches as pets and feeding them by killing and chopping up other travelers. Someone had been living here for quite some time. There's a big pile of tin cans near to the oven and a tiny hard-locked safe on the floor. Inside we find some ammunition and a stealth boy. Nearby there's an average locked ammo case with ammunition inside, and we find a pre-war book, a Guns and Bullets magazine, which permanently increases our gun skill, some bobby pins, and some railway spikes. Under the bed we find a footlocker with some metal armor, and against the eastern wall all, we find an average locked ammo box on top of a very hard locked locker. I had to put on a Vault 101 utility jumpsuit, but after picking this lock, inside we find the Victory Rifle. The Victory Rifle is one of only 2 unique sniper rifles in Fallout 3. It has the exact same damage as the sniper rifle, 40 damage, with a DPS of 42.9, but it actually has a lower critical multiplier than the sniper rifle. This weapon's critical multiplier is only 3, while the sniper rifle's critical multiplier is 5. To make up for this, however, the Victory Rifle has a unique effect. Upon critical hits, it will knock down enemies for 2 seconds. It has a handsome model with a wood grain stock and the letter V on the side for victory. On the bed, we find a teddy bear that's larger than usual. He's holding a bottle of whiskey. And at the foot of the bed, we find a workbench with a bottle cap mine and Keller family transcript holotape number 4.
Ralphie, son, this is your father. We can't get into the goddamn vault without you. Get your ass over here now. My 4 is useless without you, boy.
Huh. Okay, so this is the father of the family, Mr. Keller himself, but he's addressing this to yet another one of his children, another one of Alex's siblings, Ralphie. Now, in the previous holotape, Candace was talking to her mother. We're already at holotape number 4, but we're missing 2 people. This boy, Ralphie, and Candace's mother, presumably Mr. Keller's wife. Were the parents divorced? If so, why did Alex choose to give one of the numbers to the combination to his father and not his mother? We need some answers, but we have to find the last holotape before we get any. We can loot a suitcase and a few lockers to finish exploring this room. We find a stealth boy on one of the lockers, and then as soon as we head outside...
Over here!
The Talon Company followed us here, and it looks like many of the enemies we already killed have respawned. We can take advantage of this sniper's roost to clear them out. The pool at the very bottom is really deep, which makes sense had it been part of an abandoned quarry that has since filled with water, but there's nothing down here, so it's not worth the radiation exposure. To find the final holotape, we need to head north of the Anchorage War Memorial. Here, next to a big broken truck, we see a tent in the distance. As we get close, we hear someone calling for help from the tent.
I'm over here. Help!
Game's over!
After killing the super mutant master, we find the owner of the voice bound and kneeling on the ground. Like the last captive, we have the option to leave her or untie her.
I'm alive! I can't believe it! I'm alive! Here, I managed to hide this stuff before they tied me up. You take it. It's the best I can do to thank you.
And again, we can reject the reward for karma.
You're right. It's dangerous out here. I have to go before more of them come.
Inside the tent, we can sleep to regain our health, and lying on a table next to a ham radio, we find Keller family transcript holotape 5 of 5.
Candace, it's Ralph. Tell Dad there's no way in hell I'm spending nuclear Armageddon trapped with him in a fucking closet. You can have my number. It's 6. Now if you'll excuse me, I've got a mushroom cloud to walk into. Have a happy Holocaust.
So Ralphie wanted nothing to do with his family. That's the final holotape, but we don't hear anything about the mother. 1 father, 4 children, 1 Alex who was imprisoned for stealing the passcode to the bunker, and 1 Ralphie who refused to meet his family. There are a few corpses lying around, presumably killed by the super mutant master. In the back of a nearby truck, we find another corpse, and on a shelf next to an ammunition box and a first aid kit is a copy of Pugilism Illustrated, which permanently increases our unarmed skill. Now that we've recovered all 5 holotapes, we have the passcode to Alex's bunker. Or at least, we have 4 digits to the passcode. The digits are 4, 5, 6, and 7. What order do the numbers need to be in? In the order that we found the holotapes? In the order that each of these holotapes are numbered? Whatever happened to the survivors? Did they make it to the bunker? Did Alex die in prison? Does the bunker even still exist? We will answer all of these questions when we explore the National Guard Depot in tomorrow's episode. If you don't want to miss it, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I publish a new video 6 days a week on a wide range of Fallout topics spanning all of the games. If you want to be the first to know about Oxhorn news, I encourage you to follow me on Twitter and Facebook. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new episode.
Yeah.